Morning to both of you. Pardon the interruption. If as soon as this news conference starts, we will cut in and go listen to the Defense Secretary. But Courtney, I'll start with you. What have we been hearing from Central Command about this effort to try and escort stranded tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, and then just the exchange of attacks we've seen between the U.S. and Iran?
So we had an opportunity to speak with Admiral Brad Cooper yesterday afternoon. He's the commander of U.S. Central Command, and he said that at that point the U.S. had guided 2 U.S. flag ships through the Strait of Hormuz as part of this new Project Freedom. It went into effect yesterday, and essentially it's an effort for the U.S. military to provide sort of what Admiral Cooper called a defensive umbrella over the Strait of Hormuz. Basically, the U.S. is providing U.S. Navy ships that have their radars, aircraft overhead that are providing air defenses, so that ships will theoretically be able to move through the southern part of the Strait of Hormuz from the Gulf out into the open sea and continue on their transit. Of course, they've been stuck there in the Gulf now, in some cases for weeks, as the U.S. and Iran fought this war, and then as there's now been this stalemate in the Strait of Hormuz, where both the U.S. has been enforcing a blockade and Iran has been enforcing one as well, Joe.
Lieutenant Colonel Davis, let's bring you in here, this so-called Project Freedom. What is it doing for the overall operation? How much is it potentially escalating things?
So far it hasn't done much, practically speaking. There was those reports that 2 ships came out yesterday. There was also reports from the New York Times this morning that does one of those ship trackers, and they said that a total of 4 vessels came through, but it was unclear who the other 2 were. But it's also clear that there were 2 ships that were hit, and so that doesn't make it very likely the others are going to follow through anytime soon.
Lieutenant Colonel Davis, I want to bring you in here and literally ask you about the 2 points that Courtney just raised, and we'll start with the last one there. The Secretary saying these are separate and distinct, what's happening right now with this project from the overall operation. Is that possible, or are these things just intrinsically linked?
Well, my reading of that was that they were trying to get past the 60-day 1973 War Powers Act issue by saying, oh, Operation Epic Fury, that deal was done. It was separate and distinct, and now here comes a new operation. And then if the ceasefire ends, that'll be a new operation. I think that was just to get around reporting requirements. But the issue that I thought was the most important and didn't get answered was, you said there were 2 ships that passed through yesterday, and their hundreds are lining up, but no movement on them. So what's going to make people want to cross that line, especially when 2 other ships were attacked by Iran yesterday? I don't see a lot of people getting ready to rush the opening here, and that's the part that the only thing that matters is how many ships come out, or do they?
And Lieutenant Colonel, this concept of low harassing fire, can you help us understand that?
I interpret that as they attacked, they had launched some either cruise missiles or drones, and they were not successful. They were able to intercept them, and so they consider that low ranking. But, the thing that I worry about the most is if the Iranians decide not just to fire 1 or 2 or 3, I think is what I've seen, of these missiles or drones at a ship, but they swarm it and hit, 15 or 20. If they really decide they're going to go after this ship, I don't know that our defenses can guard off against that, and we may find ourselves in a flashpoint there, and that's the thing I worry about.